Hello and welcome to another video from Dapol Rail. Today we're doing an express review of the new Realtrack Class 156 in Regional Railways SuperSprinter livery. These things were called SuperSprinters because they sort of did slightly longer journeys than regular Sprinter services. So they were given the branding SuperSprinter to denote the difference between the two. This is a fantastic logo. I'm very pleased with it, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy this video. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you guys it running on the layout a little bit, show you the running characteristics with, this is the DC model by the way, so we're going to show you the running characteristics with a couple of different DC controllers. We're also going to show you a problem that we ran into when we first started to run it in and how we went about fixing that. And of course we're going to do the unboxing as well. So we also do have some sessions showing the loco at different speeds and with the lights on and off in the area, so you can see it basically with daytime and nighttime running and get a kind of a feel of how it would work with DC. It does support a DC sound option that appears to be if you have the DCC version with the sound encoder but are running it on a DC controller. So if you ever think you might be going to do DCC sound, or you want the DC sound on your layout, then you probably want to go and invest in the DCC sound version. So what we're going to do next is give you guys a quick look at the thing running on the layout, do the unboxing, and we'll run through the video from there. So this section of the layout is actually pretty taxing. This is my DIY platform that I made with some poly filler, and usually if you've got any kind of fine detailing or whatever, if it's going to hit anything or come off, it's going to come off in this section. And you can see it goes around some couple of curved points, some very decent sized points, and then comes through here through the station area, and you can see it's working it through there without any problems at all. So today we've got something a little different. I've been waiting a long time for this particular model to come out. It's the Class 156 DMU from Realtrack Models, and this one is the SuperSprinter British Railways livery. So this is a model that was done in partnership with Rapido Trains. And we've already had one model from Rapido Trains, which has been the APTE, and it's been fantastic. So I'm hoping that this also lives up to the same level of quality and detailing. Now this one, like I said, is the British Railways, I think it's Regional Railways SuperSprinter livery. And so I think there's been some other liveries already released. So hopefully this one will be just as good. Now I think there's two versions of this. One is just the regular Sprinter livery, and then this is the SuperSprinter livery that basically has a SuperSprinter branding on the side of it instead of Sprinter. I believe it originally came out with the Sprinter branding, and then it was kind of updated to SuperSprinter because it did longer distances. So here we have the DMU parts, so standard sort of parts diagram, and then you've got the other vehicle, which is the DMSL. So this is the DMS, and this one's DMSL, and you can see here it's pretty extensive in terms of parts. And of course we have this British Rail styled crew manual done for the 156, and it's just got Realtrack and Rapido Trains. But if you've ever seen those British Railways documents and manuals and stuff, it sort of does kind of nice touch the outside of it. It's got a whole bunch of product guidelines. Now I have actually read through this already. It has the cab front, inner end, and so on, and usual stuff telling you how to remove the body shell. Has a DC silent operation, installing decoders, DC sound operation, which I assume is if you have the DCC decoder in it. I'm not sure actually, we'll have to see. And this is operation with DCC sound. There's various different factory reset, slow settings, and so on. Alright, and it has some information on the back. Okay, so let's see what we have in the box. So first of all, let's have a look at what kind of detailing information or pieces we have here. So it looks like we have some very delicate pieces that I'm probably going to leave off. Looks like we have some connectors, and some other detailing pack information there. Alright, so let's go and remove this thing from the packaging. So there's two parts. I'm going to remove them and then get the box out of the way because the box is huge. That one's pretty light. Actually, they're both pretty light. So they've done a good job of Okay, so let's take a look. The livery is very, very clean. There's an awful lot of detail under there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go move the camera and sort of pan this around so you guys can take a look at it, and we'll also show it to you running on the layout, and then we'll take a closer look at this and maybe compare it to one of the other class 156s we have. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to run the DMU this way, just so you can take a look at the underframe detail and just look at the detail in general. So this is the slowest possible speed I could get out of it with the Electron, and some of that may be my wiring as well, but it's pretty decent. Okay, so this is hooked up to this part of the controller. You can see it's on high resistant mode. It goes back from high and low. You obviously always want to leave the wave switch on full. And if I go, you can see it moves pretty well. And then accelerates out. And then if I can bring it back at the same speed, the opposite way. Looking pretty good, and likewise in reverse. And of course it's no longer squeaking either, as you saw in our repair video. So one thing I will say is when I first got this, it was squeaking when it went in this direction. It was fine in that direction, but after running it in an hour that direction, I ran it in this way, and it almost immediately started squeaking. There's a very quick fix for that, and I'm going to show you that fix in just a few minutes in this video. If you want to skip straight to a video that has that as the main aspect of it, you can click up here and find the repair video. So it runs reasonably well with the DC controller. So what I'm going to do next is, like I said, it did squeak after I ran it in, so we're going to switch over to work. So you can hear there, it definitely has a squeak, and I've narrowed the squeak down to this side. Silent. Squeaking. It's very strange. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go and take the loco over to the workbench and see if we can figure it out. But I don't want to take it over in one piece, so what we're going to do is show you how to disconnect it. So you just basically flick it over and give it a little tug, and it comes right out. Put this one down. Let's see if it will run independently. It does. That's interesting. It doesn't make any noise that way. It's squeaking this way. Okay, so we're back over at the workbench, and this here is the class 156. You can see there it's got a kind of a speaker location there. You can see it says Realtrack and Rapido Trains. The underframe detailing is fantastic, and again, just look at the we'll show you this running on the layout, but it is one fantastic effort there by the folks at Rapido. Alright, so our problem at hand is this squeaky wheels. It looks like the axle box here is okay, so this one's motorized and this one is freewheeling, so let's test this one first. So we have one set that is freewheeling. Those seem to be pretty much okay. So it must be the motorized version here is having some issues. Now, if you listen real carefully, if I here's part of your problem. That one's okay. It's this wheel set right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab a paper clip and some oil, and we're going to see if we can fix it. Okay, so I've got a cap here, and I've got some oil. Now this is a synthetic model oil. It's liquid bearings, and we're just going to put a small amount of it, like so, into the ball cap. And then we're going to take a paper clip, and we're going to flip the paper clip around like this so that we can use it as a more precise kind of dropper. Now I'm going to flick this over, and we're going to take the oil very gently, and we're going to drop it onto the top part here, and then I'm going to take my finger and move it back and forth like so. Then what I'm going to do is get another piece of oil, and I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom part of the axle. Now I know this is a brand new locomotive, and if I was living in the UK, I might think about returning it, but to be honest, this is an easy fix, and you should probably just do some modeling instead of being picky and returning it. So you can see there, no longer is making that squeaking noise. Now there's a little gap, I don't know if you can see it, but it's right in between the wheel and the axle. So I'm going to drop a tiny amount of oil, and when I say tiny, I mean this is a minute amount of oil in there. Just work it in by moving it back and forth like so. Now I'm going to check the other one. This one's fine, it's not doing anything. This one was the one that was making all the noise, and it's not doing it now. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this back over to the layout, and we'll see if it still squeaks or not. So again, this is the slowest speed I can get out of low resistance mode, but all the lights are real bright and it works pretty well. Now I'm going to switch it over to high resistance mode, and then the slowest possible speed I can get out of it in high resistance mode without it stalling. So it will go a little bit slower than it is actually running, but this is without it stalling at all. It's a continuous speed. And one thing you will notice is that you can barely see the interior lights. And you can barely see the tail lights there. But this is as slow as it will go in high resistance mode. And it's you know, pretty decent. And then we'll run it in high resistance mode back the other way as slow as it will go. You can see there the headlights are on, but they're very faint, and so that's what you're going to get with high resistant mode. But it's running really smoothly and really slowly. So if I put it at a reasonable running speed, you will see that the interior lights work and the tail lights are working pretty well there. So it's a pretty good job that they've done at Rapido with this. If I run it at a reasonable running speed forwards, you can see interior lights. So it's not bad at all. This is a reasonable speed for a DMU. In terms of takeoff from a stop, in high resistant mode. Now remember, this is on a curve too, so I'm kind of pushing it. But you get some pretty good level of control with it. Alright, so there you have it. It's no longer squeaking, and it seems to be working pretty well. So I'm quite happy with it now. It's running both directions. It's a fantastic model. We've fixed the squeak. To be honest, I might repeat that fix on all of the axles. We'll see how it goes. I haven't heard any more squeaking, so I think it's gonna be okay. But yeah, I might run it across all of them. Just to make sure it doesn't happen. Okay, so I wanted to do a quick comparison between the Lima version, which is here, and the Realtrack model that's here. Obviously, the running characteristics and just the quality of the Realtrack version is just fantastic. Keep in mind that the Lima version is quite old. If you look at the underframe detailing there, it is quite old, and probably the biggest notable thing is the gap there between the two. If I go and put the Realtrack version in the background, you can see there's basically no gap, and so you can, my fingers through there, fingers through the back of the other one, you can see there's no gap. No gap. Otherwise, everything else pretty much lines up pretty well. All the windows seem to line up. Like I said, the Realtrack version appears to be slightly higher than the Lima one. If I you can see, it's not a lot. It's probably maybe 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters higher. So I'm guessing it's probably a combination of the bogies and maybe the fact that this has also potentially dropped a bit over the years. But yeah, it's a really nice model. I'm quite happy with it. So the livery on the Lima one really isn't that bad, and it does match pretty well with the Realtrack one. So if you have some of the Lima ones in your fleet, it's not going to look out of place. Obviously, I think you might want to think about maybe either kit bashing or 3D printing a new underframe for the Lima version, and it wouldn't be that hard to do that. So the other thing, I'm weathering the front here. If I move the Realtrack one, you can see it's quite a difference between the two. And I don't know if this is just being faded or it's the color of the plastic. Kind of looks like a Lima colored plastic rather than paint, which is probably what's going on. Okay, so to attach it, there are just a series of holes. It's kind of hard to see, but they're basically there. And so what you do is try to line it up. Just basically line up the holes like that, and it goes in place. And might want to use some tacky wax or something, but it seems to be pretty okay. So I'm going to go connect the train back. Alright, so to connect the two halves back together, I found that the easiest thing to do is to actually just flick it over on its side like this. Put your thumb on this part, line it up, and then just give it a little bit of a click. And it's that easy. You just have to make sure you don't hit your brand new, quite expensive Class 156 against your layout. You also want to make sure your hands are clean, as usual. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was an express review of the new Realtrack SuperSprinter Class 156, and it's a fantastic loco. You know, aside from that small minor repair to have to be done, it's been smooth sailing with this particular loco. All right, so that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, please feel free to leave comments below.